Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to run through a number of polls that have come out over the last couple of days that are taking a look at the head-to-head between Donald Trump and the Democratic challengers, as well as how that 2020 Democratic primary field is shaping up. So I want to start here quickly with a Rasmussen poll. And of course, Rasmussen, they're very favorable in general to Republicans, but in a head-to-head between Donald Trump and Democrats, from a Rasmussen poll, I still think that we can gain data from it. And if the Democrats are performing pretty well in a Rasmussen poll, then that's a pretty good sign for those candidates overall. So starting off here, the strongest performer was Joe Biden. Here we can see that he brought in 44% in comparison to Trump, who was at 33%. So an 11-point lead in Biden over Trump in a Rasmussen poll, I think, is a tremendously positive sign for Biden. He still hasn't decided whether he's running or not. It looks like he's almost certainly going to run, and we'll see how his numbers get affected once he starts throwing his hat in the ring. And the other best performer of the Democratic crew was Bernie Sanders, but not nearly as well as Biden performed. So Sanders at 40%, Donald Trump at 35%. But you also have to take in mind that Sanders has already thrown his hat in the ring. And the fact that he's gone in and he's starting to go around campaign, get his message out there more, get a lot more media coverage, in general, that means your favorability numbers are going to go down a little bit, which can affect you. And I'm interested to see if that plays a factor in Biden's numbers once he announces, and then going in all the coverage that he's going to get after that. Maybe his numbers go down, maybe they go up. We'll see in comparison in relation to what we've been seeing from Sanders anyways in some of these presidential head-to-head matchups anyways. But then beyond that, a lot of these other candidates struggling in their head-to-head against Trump. But again, take it somewhat with a grain of salt because it is a Rasmussen poll. So starting off here, Trump at 36 compared to Kamala Harris at 34. So a 2-point lead for Trump. And then moving down here to the next Democratic candidate, Elizabeth Warren, down 3 points to Donald Trump. So Trump at 37 to Warren at 34. And then the next one we got here is Beto O'Rourke, a tied 36 to 36 with Donald Trump. And then moving down a little bit further, we got Cory Booker, who's down by 2 points to Trump. Trump at 37, Booker at 35. And then we have some other minor candidates that round out this particular Rasmussen poll. But now I want to move on to the next poll that I'm bringing up on the list. And that's a new poll that we're getting from CNN. And you can see the numbers have changed a little bit from where they were 3 months ago in the Democratic primary. The biggest gainers here being Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris. So right now it's Biden still leading the way at 28 percentage points nationally, Bernie at 20, Kamala Harris at 12, Beto O'Rourke at 11. And one thing that isn't discussed all that much when you hear people talking about these polls is when you're looking at a national poll, what's going to affect that more than anything? It's going to be the states that have the largest population. So Kamala Harris coming from California, which is the most populous state, as well as Beto O'Rourke from Texas, the second biggest state in population. Those are going to have more of an effect on those national numbers than these other candidates that come from smaller states, such as Bernie Sanders from Vermont. Even though he does extremely well, obviously, in Vermont polling, it's just not going to have as much of an impact on a national scale. So that is something to keep in mind when we go into these state-by-state results. If Harris and O'Rourke do a little bit worse than what their national numbers are saying when we're not in Texas and California, that could be one way to explain why that is taking place. But then beyond that, we have Elizabeth Warren. She's also gotten a slight bump here up to 6%. John Kerry at 4%. I'd be surprised if John Kerry ran, but he's doing well in this particular poll from CNN, given the fact that it just doesn't seem like he's going to be running. Cory Booker at 3, Amy Klobuchar at 3 as well. And those are just not great numbers for those two candidates in particular. And then the rest of the field is at 1 percentage point or less beyond that. So now I want to go over and take a look at the next poll. And this is our weekly morning consult. And we actually have some changes here from what we've seen in recent weeks. Joe Biden getting a big boost from his recent numbers. You can see nationally up 4 points at 35 percentage points. Sanders staying steady right there at 27 percentage points. Kamala Harris losing 2 points down to 8 percentage points. Beto O'Rourke at 8 percentage points. I'd be surprised if he didn't see a boost going into next week's morning consult poll numbers, but he got a 1-point boost from where he was a week ago. Elizabeth Warren at 7, Booker at 4. Amy Klobuchar, again, not doing all that well, down at 2 percentage points, and then all the other candidates at 1 percentage point or less. And then taking a look at the early primary states, again, we've seen another boost here from Joe Biden, 6 points up to 39 percentage points. So doing quite well in those early states. Sanders at 28, Kamala Harris at 7, Warren at 6, Booker at 6, and O'Rourke at 5. And this is going to be another very important number for Beto O'Rourke. Now that he's come out and announced he's going around and campaigning, going into next week's numbers, I'd be surprised if he didn't see somewhat of a boost in those early primary states. And I just have one more poll that I want to talk about to wrap things up here. This one coming from Emerson. And in that 2020 Democratic primary field, Bernie Sanders just slightly eking out ahead of Joe Biden with a stronger 26% than what Biden is having, but neck and neck there at the top of this poll. And then behind them, we have Kamala Harris, Beto O'Rourke at 12 and 11 percentage points respectively, Elizabeth Warren at 8, and then all the other candidates at 3 percentage points or less. But Pete Buttigieg, he is seeming to climb up in these polls a little bit. I think he was very effective in his CNN town hall, which is positively impacting his numbers, actually pulling ahead of Cory Booker in this particular Emerson 2020 Democratic primary poll. And then all the other candidates beyond Booker are at 1 percentage point or less. And then we take a look at the general election matchups head-to-head. Elizabeth Warren, a 2-point lead over Donald Trump. And again, Joe Biden, the best performer here, 10 percentage points ahead of Trump, 55-45. Sanders, the same numbers that we're getting from Warren, 51-49 over Trump. Kamala Harris at 52-48 over Trump, so a little bit better performer there in the general election matchup than Sanders and Warren. And actually O'Rourke losing to Trump 49-51. But again, I think that him announcing recently can help him spread his message, get his name out there a bit more, and perhaps that'll help him in his head-to-head numbers against Donald Trump over the long term. So that's going to wrap up this video, guys. Thanks for stopping on in. Consider subscribing for more of this poll analysis data, and I hope to see you guys back here for my next video.